Hey, family, it's Dr. Pyant, and thank you for joining me on this journey, on your journey of transformation. I am so excited to share with you these solutions, these strategies, and these steps. I'm sharing with you who struggle with emotional bondage from childhood traumas and you have been experiencing lack of confidence, no peace, and no inner clarity. That's why we're here together. And I am so grateful that you're joining me with these videos. So I'm going to share with you tonight in this this onboarding video. I want to talk to you about an overview of the courses that I am creating for you. So, this course that I am creating is going to talk about healing emotional blockages. So, what in the world is an emotional blockage, right? Right? Emotional or mental blockage. So, an emotional blockage is defined as somebody that doesn't have clarity. Now, that happens because your emotions are your thoughts. And we're not talking about positive thoughts because if they're positive, you don't have any blockages. You are living in the flow. That's what we're going to create for you. But you're not there yet. So, an emotional blockage is someone that has unresolved traumas, things from their childhood where your story has not been rewritten, things that you still need to take a deeper dive with forgiveness and letting go, something where you need to understand how the brain and the body are connected. So, in this overview, I want to share with you and explain briefly about the brain and the body connection. So, in your head, that they call the brain, there are different systems. Let's call them systems. There are different systems that work with you, me, us, with for our behaviors. And I want to talk about three of them tonight. They're called the prefrontal cortex. That's right here. Then it's called the amygdala. That's at the base of your head, right next to your spine. And right next to the amygdala is called the hippocampus. And I want to talk about those three because those are the most important players that we use most frequently to help us to navigate our thoughts. And your thoughts make your behavior, and your behaviors create your habits, and your habits have created your life. So we need to rewire and reset them, but we need to know what we are doing. How do I rewire and reset? Why is it that I can't continually speak over my life? And I do, and I know you do, and speak love and peace and gratitude over my life. Why is it not happening consistently? Why am I not grounded in that? I got you. I hear you. And I know why. Because for 22 years, thank God for the church, I was in the church atmosphere. And whatever traumas and drama that I was going through, that atmosphere helped me because what it did, unbeknown to me, I knew about what it was doing, but I didn't know how the brain was receiving it. You understand? So, and I went to what you call a quote unquote Pentecostal church, but we studied Torah in that Pentecostal environment. So we're not going to go into the depths of the religion. Excuse me. But what I want you to understand is that the spirit that is within us is connected to joy. The spirit that is in us, that created us, the breath that said, I breathed into their nostrils and they became a living, speaking, talking soul, human person. I added to that, but that's what it meant. That is joy. And when you are not connected to joy, when you are not connected to the flow of joy, to the flow of peace, We are disconnected from our source and from our creator and from that inner system that can change anybody and anything all the time. You got that? That's what's going to change us. We are going to rewire and reconnect because make no mistake about it. We're going to talk about the brain and about how those systems operate. But it's going to be the inner man that's going to rise up, that's going to help you to be consistent and persistent with rewiring and reconnecting. So, me growing up in the church atmosphere and being in the Pentecostal movement, we had joy. Man, we had joy in the Holy Ghost. We shouted, we spoke in tongue, but it didn't rewire me. It gave me peace, like you, if you come from that background. But it didn't last, and I couldn't understand why. And it was because I had not learned to alleviate the stress that was impacting the systems in my toolbox, in my brain. When I learned that stress is the major cause of all disease and dysfunction, and that these tools work, and that stress works against them, then I knew I had the key and the wisdom to unlock the understanding. That's what we're going to do in these courses. This course is going to talk about the prefrontal cortex first. The prefrontal cortex is where your logic and your reasoning comes from. This is where you reason with things. This is your logical reasoning mind. But you heard that time when Paul spoke in the Bible, and he says, even when I went to do good, evil was present. That was present because when you have so much stress, I'm not talking about him, and he probably was under a lot of stress too, because most of you know the story of Paul, the story of Paul. Like until he heard the voice, the inner voice of God that changed his life, he was being persecuted. So our boy was under a lot of stress. So that prefrontal cortex could not get that information into his hippocampus. Now the hippocampus is at the base of your head, and the hippocampus is like a muscle in this system, but the hippocampus is covered with little magnets, and those magnets attach themselves to the stress hormone called cortisol. So whenever you are stressed about something, whenever something is bothering you, you ain't got no prefrontal cortex time. That information, if a bear is chasing you, you ain't got time to figure out nothing. Immediately, your amygdala fires up because your amygdala is your survival brain. It doesn't even have time to knock on the door of the hippocampus. So your amygdala fires up. But what if you're not being chased by a bear? What if something continually is happening in your life that's causing you to have unrest, that is causing you not to have peace, that is causing you to struggle, that is causing you to be in fight mode or flight mode or freeze mode? What if that's happening in your life? Then that means that your hippocampus, which is your processor, which takes a panoramic view of a situation, and it tells the amygdala it's not a bear. The man that's screaming at you is not your rapist. The building that you're about to walk into is not the Twin Towers. The new man that you're coming to that's touching you is not your rapist. That's the job of the hippocampus. It is the job that takes a panoramic view of what is happening, and then it sends a message to the amygdala that they're safe. So the amygdala doesn't have to fire up, fight that dude, fight that situation, or run or freeze. The amygdala doesn't have to do anything because there's no need for survival. You understand? Are you getting this? So when the hippocampus is working, you're fine. Even when the prefrontal cortex is not able to send it messages all the time. It has stored messages. It is your implicit brain part. It has everything that has happened. Now, listen to this, from childhood logged in there. Now, your prefrontal cortex is what changes the hippocampus's panoramic view. But in order for this information to get through the systems to the hippocampus, we've got to release the stress that is in between these systems. And I'm going to show you how that's done so that your hippocampus is not under stress and that your amygdala is not always firing and you are not always in survival mode. You don't need to survive, baby. You need to thrive. And using these solutions, having this knowledge, using the strategies and the steps that I'm going to share with you in the very next module are going to help you to thrive. But first, I wanted to give you an overview and an understanding of emotional blockages. And I wanted to give you an understanding of how your brain works. Now I'm going to talk about how the brain works with the body, because everything is connected. Because within us is called the central nervous system. So everything is nerves. Everything is wired. And listen to this. This is from Bruce Lipton. Things that wire together, fire together. Thoughts that wire together, fire together. So if you have thoughts that I'm not enough, that I'm always in pain, that I cannot trust anything, then it's going to be wired together in that nervous system. And it's called the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. When the sympathetic nervous system, I mean, it sounds like this should be the one that sympathizes with you, but it's not. When that one is engaged with the amygdala, now remember the amygdala is firing, remember the hippocampus cannot send a clear panoramic view. So the amygdala is going to fire because you're built for survival. The brain was built for survival. You were built inwardly for love, peace, joy, and gratitude. But this is the heart mind, and this is the head mind. This was given to us to navigate and to live out experiences on this planet. But this was given to us to stay connected to the source. You got it? So we're going to talk more about the body-mind connection in the next video. Thank you for listening, and I love you. And thank you for joining. Together, we're going to transform, rewire, and reset your mind.